In this video, we'll be looking at the conjugation of German modal verbs in the present tense. The reason why anyone would dedicate a separate lesson to modal verbs is because modal verbs differ from regular verbs in a number of ways. To begin with, modal verbs themselves are not actions. They express an attitude about an action or condition. So the action could be to buy something, and the modal verb could be can. I can buy something. Or it could be I have to, or I should, or I am allowed to. So the action is always to buy, and the qualifier or the attitude about that action is expressed by the modal verb that we use. A second difference is in the conjugations. With regular verbs, we tend to see a consistent use of personal endings. We don't see that with modal verbs. We also sometimes see a change in the stem itself owing to the grammatical history of modal verbs and their links with the past tense. We will see more about that in a later slide. Let's have a look at positioning. In a main clause, the modal verb is the conjugated verb, and for that reason we'll take the second position. It does this because we have to follow what is known as verb second order. The main verb is in the infinitive form and placed at the end of the clause or sentence. When we say main verb, we mean what will be the action or the condition. Let's have a look at an example. Ich kann eine Fahrkarte kaufen. I can buy a ticket. Kann is the conjugated auxiliary or modal verb, and kaufen is the main verb, action in this case, in the infinitive form. That infinitive will always be placed at the end of the sentence. You could replace kann with any number of modal verbs, or there are limits to how many you could possibly use, but you could, for instance, say, ich muss eine Fahrkarte kaufen. All you're required to do, and all you're allowed to do, is replace one modal verb with another. You change the meaning of the sentence, but the grammar is the same. In the next slide, we'll have a look at the conjugation of modal verbs. This is a comparison between the conjugation of modal verbs and regular verbs. Our modal verb here is können on the left, and our regular verb here is kaufen on the right. One thing that may strike you right away is the fact that the stem vowel of können, the O umlaut, is replaced with an A in all of the three singular persons. Furthermore, another difference is that there is no personal ending in the first person singular or the third person singular of können. Things appear to return to normal in the plural, however, as both modal and regular verb use the stem and attach the personal endings as you would expect them to be attached. Können isn't the only modal verb whose stem vowel changes. A similar thing happens to müssen, dürfen, wollen, and mögen. Bear in mind that for all of these modal verbs, the first and third person will take no personal endings. What we see here is the homework that I would have given you if you were my student. Let's put those modal verbs into practice. If you look at number one, we have I cannot go to school. What you need to look out for is, of course, that word order is all about the conjugated verb being the second idea of the sentence. In this case, we're saying cannot, which would require use of the modal verb können. The other infinitive in the sentence, there is another one, yes, the word for go, that moves all the way to the end of the sentence. So let's try to translate this word for word. Ich cannot, kann nicht, keeping those two words separate in German. And then for to school, we would say zur Schule. And lastly, gehen. Ich kann nicht zur Schule gehen. Notice that when you say zur Schule, you're spelling zur, Z-U-R, because it's a contraction of zu and der. We have a dative case here, dative feminine to be exact. Also, gehen is at the end of the sentence, as we predicted in our theory leading up to this. Number 2, she is allowed to work. So to be allowed, if you go to the sheets you would have received from me, the translation of that would be dürfen. What you need to look out for is, as with können, the fact that we have a change in the vowel in the singular persons. So she is sie, and then we need to conjugate dürfen. It becomes darf. No ending, of course, because there is no ending in the first and third person. And then to work would be arbeiten. Therefore, the sentence is sie darf arbeiten. Okay, that was fairly straightforward. Number 3, he has to find a new friend. To have to is müssen. Another thing you need to look out for here is that neu precedes the word Freund, which is masculine and accusative, and therefore neu will have an en attached to it. For he, muss for has to. Notice again, there's no ending, it's just the stem. Einen neuen Freund finden. Here our infinitive, our action is finden, which wanders all the way to the end of the sentence. Okay, I'll leave you to figure out the rest for yourself. If you have any further questions, comment below the video. Thank you.